Breaking confirmation at 2 a.m. $2,000 tariff rebate checks are officially approved, just moments ago, in a development that caught Washington and millions of Americans completely off guard. The White House confirmed a major late-night decision. At approximately 2 a.m., President Trump officially signed off on the revised structure of the $2,000 tariff rebate checks, turning weeks of speculation into confirmed policy. This was not a routine announcement. There was no prime-time press conference, no extended briefing, and no early warning to the public. Instead, the confirmation came quietly through internal Treasury notifications, signaling that the program has now moved from discussion to execution. For seniors across the country, especially those living on fixed incomes, this moment is far more significant than it may initially appear. While the original headlines focused on middle-income families and workers impacted by rising tariffs, the internal documents released overnight reveal a deeper and far more consequential shift happening behind the scenes. The tariff rebate program is funded through revenue collected from import tariffs, not through traditional stimulus legislation. That distinction matters. It means these payments do not require new congressional approval, and once eligibility categories are finalized, Treasury has the authority to move forward with distribution. According to officials familiar with the process, the President approved a revised eligibility framework late in the evening after reviewing updated economic data. Those internal reports highlighted one uncomfortable truth. Inflation has hit older Americans harder than nearly any other group. Rising food prices, higher utility bills, increasing rent and medical costs have placed enormous pressure on seniors who rely almost entirely on Social Security, SSI or SSDI. And until now, that reality was not fully reflected in the original design of the tariff rebate program. But tonight, that changed. What makes this update different is not just the confirmation of the $2,000 checks themselves, it's the quiet restructuring that happened alongside the approval, a restructuring that begins to move seniors away from the back of the line and toward priority status. And that raises an important question. Who exactly benefits from this shift, and why did it happen so suddenly? That answer begins with a brand new eligibility list that did not exist earlier this week. And in the next section, we'll explain exactly how low-income seniors were added and what that means for your potential payment timeline. Low-income seniors quietly added to a brand new priority eligibility list. As the late-night confirmation of the $2,000 tariff rebate checks began to circulate, another critical detail emerged, one that was not mentioned in any public statement earlier this week. Low-income seniors were quietly added to a brand new eligibility list, a list that did not exist just days ago. This change did not happen by accident. According to internal Treasury documentation, officials were instructed to reevaluate who was being hit hardest by rising prices. While workers and middle-income households were already included in the original framework, seniors were only mentioned broadly without any priority status. That approach has now been reversed. For the first time, seniors living on fixed incomes are being treated as a priority group, not an afterthought. If you rely on Social Security, SSI or SSDI, as your primary or only source of income, your eligibility profile has fundamentally changed. Treasury officials created a new classification specifically for households with limited or fixed income, and seniors were placed squarely inside that category. What does that mean in simple terms? It means seniors are no longer waiting behind millions of working households in the payment queue. Instead, many have been moved closer to the front, where approvals happen faster and verification is simpler. This shift is especially important for seniors who struggle month to month. If your income barely covers rent, food, utilities, and medical expenses, the updated system now recognizes that vulnerability. Treasury language explicitly states that households with limited purchasing power should not be left behind, a single sentence that triggered this entire restructuring. Officials familiar with the review process say the decision was fast-tracked after updated economic data showed a sharp increase in senior financial stress. Seniors receiving lower-than-average Social Security benefits were identified as being among the most impacted by inflation, even more so than many working families, whose incomes can adjust over time. And here's the key detail many people are missing. This priority list is not symbolic. It directly affects how fast your eligibility is reviewed. and how soon your payment could be approved. For seniors, this update represents a quiet but powerful change. It's the first sign that the tariff rebate program is being targeted not just at broad economic groups, but at those with the least financial flexibility. And in the next section, we'll explain why this change happened so suddenly, what triggered the internal review, and why the White House chose to move forward without public warning. What triggered the sudden shift? The economic data that forced a fast-track decision. The question many seniors are now asking is simple. Why did this change happen so suddenly? Why were low-income seniors added to the priority list almost overnight without any public warning? The answer lies in a series of economic reports that reached the White House in recent days. Reports that painted a troubling picture of how inflation is impacting older Americans. According to internal briefings, President Trump was presented with updated data showing a sharp rise in financial hardship among seniors, particularly those receiving less than $1,300 per month from Social Security. These findings revealed that while inflation has affected nearly every household, seniors living on fixed incomes have far less ability to adapt. Unlike working households, seniors cannot increase their income when prices rise. Rent, groceries, gas, utilities, and prescription medications continue to climb, while monthly benefits remain largely unchanged. That imbalance was identified as a critical vulnerability in the original tariff rebate design. One senior economic advisor summarized the concern in blunt terms. If tariff revenue is being returned to Americans, those with the least buying power should not be last in line. That single principle became the catalyst for the fast-track review. Behind closed doors, Treasury officials were instructed to reassess how eligibility was being prioritized. The goal was not to expand the program, but to redirect it toward those most financially exposed. Seniors, particularly those dependent on Social Security, SSI or SSDI, quickly rose to the top of that list. What's important to understand is that this shift was data-driven, not political theater. The review focused on real-world impact, who feels price increases immediately and who cannot absorb them over time. Seniors scored the highest on that scale. The White House also wanted to avoid premature leaks. Officials delayed public disclosure until the revised eligibility structure was fully approved and Treasury systems were aligned. That's why this update arrived quietly late at night, rather than through a major announcement. By the time the confirmation reached the public, the decision had already been finalized. And this explains why seniors were not just added to the program, they were elevated within it. In the next section, we'll break down how the tariff rebate program is funded, why it works differently from traditional stimulus checks, and why this structure allows payments to move forward without waiting on Congress, why these $2,000 payments are different, how the tariff rebate program actually works. To fully understand why this update matters so much for seniors, it's important to understand how the $2,000 tariff rebate program works, and why it is fundamentally different from the stimulus checks Americans saw in the past. Unlike traditional stimulus payments, which require congressional approval and are funded through federal spending bills, the tariff rebate program is financed through revenue collected from import tariffs. These are taxes placed on goods coming into the United States from overseas. President Trump has consistently argued that when tariffs generate excess revenue, that money should be returned to American households rather than sitting unused in government accounts. That philosophy is the foundation of this program. And here's the key point. Because the money already exists, Treasury does not need Congress to pass a new law to distribute it. Once the eligibility framework is finalized, the Treasury Department has the authority to move forward. This is why e-confirmation that came at 2 a.m. was so significant. It wasn't just a political statement. It was a green light for Treasury to begin final preparations. Another major difference is how eligibility is verified. Stimulus checks in the past often required new filings, updated tax returns, or manual reviews. The tariff rebate program relies heavily on existing federal data, including records from the IRS and the Social Security Administration. For seniors, this is a major advantage. Most retirees already have their income, benefit status, and payment information stored within federal systems. That allows Treasury to confirm eligibility more quickly and with fewer delays. This structure also explains why Treasury was able to introduce a new priority system so rapidly. Because they weren't building a new program from scratch, officials could adjust scoring models and eligibility tiers without restarting the entire process. In simple terms, the program is flexible, and that flexibility is what allowed seniors to be moved into higher priority positions once the data supported it. But flexibility also brings complexity. Behind the scenes, Treasury didn't just add seniors to a list. They reorganized the entire payment structure into multiple tiers, each with different timelines and verification requirements. And that's where things start to get confusing for the public. In the next section, we'll explain the new tier system, how it works, and why low-income seniors were placed into one of the highest priority categories ahead of millions of working households. Inside the new three-tier system, why low-income seniors moved to the front after the late-night approval of the $2,000 tariff rebate checks. The most important change happened quietly inside the Treasury Department. Officials didn't just update a list, they rebuilt the entire payment structure using a new three-tier system designed to prioritize those most affected by rising prices. This tier system is the reason seniors are now seeing their status change. Originally, Tier 1 was reserved almost exclusively for middle-income workers, earning between roughly $30,000 and $75,000 per year. That structure assumed working households would feel the fastest impact from tariffs. But the updated economic data told a different story. Under the revised scoring model, low-income seniors were added directly into Tier 1, placing them among the highest priority recipients. The Treasury's new system evaluates households based on several key factors: income level, dependency on government benefits, purchasing power, and income stability. Seniors who rely on Social Security, SSI or SSDI, score extremely high, not because they earn more, but because their income is fixed and highly vulnerable to inflation. That's a crucial distinction. When rent, food, utilities, and medical costs rise, working households may see wages increase over time. Seniors on fixed benefits do not. The model recognizes that reality, and it now treats fixed-income households as higher risk. As a result, many seniors earning under approximately $30,000 per year or receiving below the national median Social Security benefit saw their eligibility score jump dramatically. That single adjustment is what pushed them forward in the queue. Tier 2 now includes many working households that were previously expected to receive payments early. Their eligibility has not been removed, but their timeline may be pushed back slightly as the system rebalances. Tier 3 remains reserved for higher-income households or cases that require additional verification. Importantly, most seniors are not placed in Tier 3 at all. This is the first time since the program was announced that the public has seen a clear breakdown of who was prioritized and why. Seniors were not simply included, they were elevated. In the next section, we'll take a closer look at the specific income thresholds Treasury is using, including why seniors receiving under certain monthly benefit amounts are now considered high priority. The income thresholds that matter. Who qualifies for priority review? Now that the new tier system is in place, the next question seniors are asking is straightforward. What income levels actually qualify for priority treatment? According to internal Treasury scoring guidelines, the strongest candidates for early approval are households earning below roughly $30,000 per year. But income alone is no longer the only deciding factor. The updated model places significant weight on how stable or unstable that income is over time. For seniors, this works in your favor. If your primary income comes from Social Security, SSI, SSDI, or survivor's benefits, your household is automatically flagged for expedited review. Treasury officials refer to these cases as fast verify households, because your benefit records already exist within federal systems. One of the most important thresholds mentioned in the updated memo involves monthly Social Security payments. Seniors receiving under approximately $1,300 per month are now considered highly vulnerable under the new scoring formula. That level was identified as a tipping point where inflation begins to cause immediate financial strain. But the update goes even further. A separate category was created for seniors receiving under $1,100 per month. This group was flagged as facing the most severe financial pressure and was moved into the highest priority lane within Tier 1. These individuals were not part of the original public discussion. Yet, they are now positioned for some of the fastest approvals. Another major change affects seniors who have filed zero income tax return (NS) in recent years. In the past, these cases often caused delays because IRS systems required additional verification. Under the revised structure, Treasury is now using SSA benefit data to bypass those bottlenecks. That means many seniors who previously experienced delays could now move through the system much faster. It's also important to understand what does not disqualify you. Having no employment income, relying solely on federal benefits, or living on a fixed monthly check does not push you to the back of the line. It moves you forward. In the next section, we'll explain whether seniors need to apply for these $2,000 payments, what verification looks like, and why most people will not need to file any new paperwork. Do seniors need to apply? What the Treasury confirmed about verification. One of the biggest concerns seniors have right now is whether they need to apply to receive the $2,000 tariff rebate check. The updated Treasury guidance makes this point clear, and for most seniors, the answer is no. Under the revised system, eligibility reviews will be handled automatically using existing data from the Social Security Administration and the IRS. That means if your income information, benefit status, and identity records are already on file, Treasury can verify your eligibility without requiring additional forms. This is a significant change from past stimulus programs, which often required seniors to submit extra paperwork, update tax returns, or respond to multiple verification requests. In this case, Treasury is deliberately minimizing those steps to avoid delays. Seniors whose primary income comes from Social Security, SSI, or SSDI, are considered fast verify households. Their records are already documented, consistent, and easy to confirm across federal systems. As a result, many seniors may never need to take any action at all. However, there are a few important exceptions. If your address has changed recently, your direct deposit information is outdated, or your IRS or SSA records are incomplete, you may receive a request to confirm your information. These requests could appear in your IRS online account or your My Social Security portal. Treasury officials strongly advise seniors not to ignore these messages. They are not optional. Responding quickly helps ensure you remain in the priority lane and prevents your payment from being delayed or rerouted. Another important clarification: seniors who do not normally file tax returns are not excluded. In fact, those who rely solely on federal benefits may move through verification faster than working households with multiple income sources. This process is designed to be as hands-off as possible for seniors, but staying alert is still essential. In the next section, we'll talk about payment, timing, what seniors can realistically expect, and why many may see approval updates earlier than originally projected. Payment timing explained why many seniors may see early approvals with eligibility clarified and verification largely automated. The next question seniors are asking is, when will the $2,000 payments actually arrive? While Treasury has not released exact dates yet, the internal timeline provides important clues, and for seniors, the outlook is more favorable than many expected. Because low income seniors were moved into Tier 1, they are now positioned to move through the review process before millions of working households. Treasury officials are sequencing approvals based on final verification, not public announcement order. That means seniors may see status updates even while others are still waiting to be reviewed. This is a major shift from earlier expectations. Under the original framework, many seniors were expected to fall into later payment waves. The W-tier system reverses that. Seniors whose records are already confirmed through SSA and IRS systems require fewer processing steps, allowing Treasury to finalize approvals more quickly. Officials familiar with the process say Tier 1 approvals will be completed first, followed by Tier 2 and then Tier 3. Because seniors dominate the highest priority category within Tier 1, their approvals could be among the earliest issued. However, it's important to understand that approval does not always mean immediate payment. Once eligibility is confirmed, Treasury still needs to coordinate with the IRS and SSA to ensure payment methods are accurate. That includes confirming direct deposit information or mailing addresses. Seniors should expect to see status changes before funds are released. These updates may appear as notifications or alerts in federal portals, indicating that eligibility has been confirmed or that payment processing has begun. This is also why some people may hear about approvals before seeing money in their accounts. The system moves in stages, and each stage must be completed in order. While exact timelines remain fluid, early projections suggest seniors could receive confirmation weeks ahead of groups that now fall into Tier 2. That doesn't mean others won't be paid, it simply reflects the new priority order. In the next section, we'll address a critical concern many seniors have raised. Will receiving this $2,000 payment affect Social Security, SSI, or SSDI benefits? Will this $2,000 payment affect Social Security, SSI, or SSDI benefits? As news of the $2,000 tariff rebate check spreads, one concern keeps coming up again and again among seniors. Will this payment reduce my Social Security, SSI, or SSDI benefits? The answer from Treasury officials is clear: no, it will not. This $2,000 rebate is not classified as earned income, unearned income, or a benefit adjustment. It is considered a rebate funded through tariff revenue, which places it outside the income calculations used for Social Security, SSI, and SSDI eligibility. In simple terms, this payment is separate from your monthly benefits. That distinction is extremely important for seniors who depend on every dollar of their regular checks. Treasury and SSA guidance confirms that receiving the rebate will not lower future Social Security payments, will not trigger benefit reviews, and will not affect cost of living adjustments. For SSI recipients, the concern is often even greater because SSI has strict income and asset limits. Officials clarified that the rebate does not count as income for SSI purposes and is not treated the same way as wages or recurring payments. However, there is one practical point seniors should keep in mind. While the payment itself does not reduce benefits, holding large sums of money for extended periods could affect asset-based programs if funds are not spent. Treasury officials recommend using the rebate for essential expenses, rather than letting it sit indefinitely. This guidance is consistent with how previous rebate-style payments have been handled. Another worry seniors have raised is whether accepting this payment could trigger audits or additional scrutiny. According to Treasury sources, that is not the case. Eligibility reviews are conducted before payment approval, not after. Once approved, the payment does not reopen your benefit file. This program was designed to provide relief, not to create new risks. In the next and final section, we'll explain what seniors should do right now, how to stay alert for important notices, and what to expect as Treasury moves toward final distribution. What seniors should do. Now, final steps, warnings, and what comes next, as the Treasury moves forward with the final stages of the 2000 trillions. Tariff rebate program. The most important question for seniors is no longer whether this is real, it's what to do next. The first and most critical step is to make sure your information is accurate. Seniors are strongly encouraged to review their Social Security Administration and IRS records, especially their mailing address and direct deposit details. Even small errors can delay payment, particularly during high-volume distributions like this one. If you have an online My Social Security account or IRS portal access, check it regularly over the coming days and weeks. Any alert requesting identity confirmation, address verification, or payment preference updates should be handled immediately. These notices are part of the final verification process, and responding quickly helps keep your payment in the priority lane. The second step is understanding what you do not need to worry about. You do not need Congress to pass a new bill. You do not need to apply in most cases, and you do not need to fear losing your Social Security, SSI, or SSDI benefits because of this payment. The eligibility structure is already finalized, and Treasury is now focused on execution. Another important reminder is to stay cautious. With major payments like this, scams tend to increase. Treasury and SSA will never call, text, or email asking for personal information related to your rebate. Any request for Social Security, numbers, banking details, or payment fees should be treated as a scam. Looking ahead, Treasury officials indicate that the next announcements will likely focus on payment windows and processing milestones, not eligibility changes. Seniors who have already been moved into Tier 1 are in a strong position as the program enters its final phase. And finally, it's worth acknowledging what this moment represents. Over the past few years, millions of seniors have faced rising costs with little flexibility and limited relief. This update does not solve every challenge, but it does mark a meaningful shift, one that recognizes the financial pressure older Americans are under. Seniors are no longer at the back of the line. Stay informed, stay prepared, and stay alert for official updates. As more details are released, understanding the process will help ensure this relief reaches you as quickly and smoothly as possible.